North Carolina's history is a storied one. Stories of courage.
Abraham Galloway was recruited by Union generals who gets involved in clandestine activities.
You don't know how much history you really are making.
Stories of freedom.
He participated in the Revolutionary War.
Stories of great talent and creativity. We're sharing the state's rich African American history.
It really is a story that in many ways is the quintessential American story.
Phil Freelon, An American Story.
As an architect, I decided long ago that I wanted to work on buildings that made a positive impact on the communities where they're built. Buildings play a part in shaping our environment and how people feel in a city or in a neighborhood or in their home.
From San Francisco to Atlanta, Durham, and the nation's capital, Phil Freelon's building designs help shape impressions of cities throughout the United States. In his Perkins and Wills office in Durham, North Carolina, the acclaimed architect and design director describes what it felt like the first time he saw his own design transformed into a building.
You begin with an idea and a thought and a sketch, and then over time that actually comes into physical reality through the construction process. It was really exciting to me, and it still is today.
Today, Freelon calls Durham his home of 40 years, but his gifted eye for design began long before planting his roots in North Carolina.
I'm a native Philadelphian, and I attended public school there, and you know, the history of my family has the visual arts in it. My grandfather was a noted painter during the Harlem Renaissance period.
His grandfather, artist Allen Randall Freelon Sr., left a lasting impression.
I remember my grandfather and visiting his studio, and I think I showed some talent and interest in art from an early age. Architecture and design seemed to be a nice blend of art and science, and I excelled, you know, when I found that path in high school. I started out at Hampton Institute, now Hampton University. I went to Hampton for the first 2 years, then I came to North Carolina and finished my first degree at NC State, and then I went on to MIT for my Master of Architecture degree.
After building his career with firms in Durham and Houston, as well as serving as an adjunct professor at NC State University, Freelon completed a prestigious Loeb Fellowship at Harvard University. He returned to North Carolina and started his own firm, the Freelon Group.
4 years ago, I merged my prior practice, the Freelon Group, with Perkins and Will, and now we're part of a bigger multinational company.
Freelon has designed and led design work for an array of projects: campus buildings at North Carolina Central University, North Carolina A&T, and Morgan State, libraries in Washington, D.C., public spaces like Houston's historic Emancipation Park.
The National Center for Civil and Human Rights in Atlanta, and that's been completed, and I'm very proud of that. And these are institutions and buildings, again, that tell a story and have meaning beyond just being a beautiful structure. You know, they're making a difference in people's lives and in the cities where they're built, and I'm very proud of that.
His museum projects include the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture.
A signature green museum designed by the gifted architectural team of Freeland, Ajay Bond, and the Smith Group, but a museum that soars on the resiliency of a people and will illuminate the joy and the belief in the promise of America that has shaped this community.
It's important for the architecture, the building itself, to contribute to the storytelling, not just to be a container for exhibits, that the building can have a role in telling the story.
And the story continues with more projects on the horizon.
I always tell people the most exciting project is the next one. And so we're working on the Motown Museum in Detroit right now, and that's very exciting for us. We're working right now on a tower here in Durham that's going to be about 30 stories high. We're working in Raleigh right now on a project called Freedom Park, telling the story of freedom in North Carolina there. The progress of our state over the decades has been great, but there are people who have contributed to that aren't necessarily recognized or acknowledged, like African Americans, Native Americans. And so this park will help to illuminate the stories of people of color who have contributed in important ways to the great state that we see today. It's been very nice to work on something close to home in North Carolina's capital. Like we were saying, I've been here a long time. I feel like I've adopted the state and the state has adopted me. I perceive that. I'm happy about that. And it's nice to do something of meaning in the state's capital. And that gives me a sense of pride.